New technology is not good or evil in and of itself. It's all about how people choose to use it. Good morning, my name is Annabelle Kirkland.
Yeah, I'm Marco Cardoso.
My name is Tristan Aranjuez.
And I am Mauricio Fonseca. This is a research question. What is the best way to address the demands of technology integration in American K-12 public schools? Potential solutions to our research question is to delegate responsibilities to state-level governments who can make policies supported by private corporations, and also allow school districts to make broad policies or individual plans regarding technology integration in many schools.
Before we address the pros and cons of technology integration, it's important to define what educational technology is. Paraphrased from Professor of Practice Joseph Lathan, educational technology is any electronic tool, either physical device or digital resource, that assists in student learning and enhances their understanding of a topic. Educational technology is already changing the way that we learn. For example, it can expand accessibility to education for students with disabilities. A small study on 2 students with autism revealed that, compared to traditional methods of teaching, both preferred to use an app called TinyTap when it came to infant-based language arts work. Additionally, technology can open doors for students who would otherwise be shut out of the education system. Many students find it hard to attend class in person due to medical conditions, disabilities, or distance. Technologies like the Vigo robot, one of which is used at our school, allow students to attend class remotely while still being able to interact with teacher instruction. Overall, increasing accessibility in education is a key benefit of technology integration.
Okay. So like you see here, technology is just changing and impacting education by making students feel more motivated to learn. So according to Han 1, this right here, the students show increased confidence in critical thinking even after conclusion of the funded program, which shows the support of education from technology being implemented in schools.
So now we'll discuss some obstacles to technology integration, and the very first obstacle is digital inequity. Digital inequity often occurs in high poverty, rural, and minority schools, and it refers to a difference in ease of access to technology. One example is that schools in rural and isolated areas often experience a lack of access to reasonably priced technology. And as seen on this survey graph, low-income students are more likely to lack access to digital tools in the home. This divide is affecting the way that students learn. According to Professor of Education Mark Warshaw, low-income students are more likely to use technology for drill and practice software, where high-income students are more likely to use it for broader purposes of research. If we continue to implement education technology as we are, this is only going to lead to greater technological gaps that we cannot bridge.
Technology in the classroom can limit the roles of teachers. If a student is learning from a self-paced, transformative learning platform, this can take away a teacher's agency in educating their students in an unusual way. This is due to the fact that if a student is learning, that students learn is dependent on the performance levels on the programs they use for their studies. Teachers are decreasingly able to assess their students' success.
Another issue with technology integration is that it can be influenced by funding from private corporations or other large investors. Despite technology's ability to increase accessibility in education, none of the top edtech companies focus on student diversity and learning needs, according to Drs. Reagan and Quaja. The lack of funding and support for these kinds of technology may hinder diverse students' learning if technology continues to be implemented this way in the future.
Okay, so as you can see, the involvement from corporates into technology getting employee education. So according to Singer and Ivory, so large companies and philanthropists will enter a market that was predicted to reach $21 billion in sales by 2020, which shows the extent of the support of technology in education. Oh yeah. Okay. So this comes with high cost though, because you see in this graph, you see the price of the $306 by student compared to the amount of students, which results into this great monetary cost for the schools. And according to Goldman and Fairley, giving each student with a laptop will cost $10 billion each year.
So now we'll be evaluating the best approach to technology integration in public schools. And our very first proposed option would be for state governments to work closely with private corporations to create and fund this policy. This does come with its limitations though. Teachers' roles are already changing and shifting in the classroom, as we heard from Mauricio, and it's completely possible that this solution could exacerbate that. And we also know that back and forth with corporations can lead to teachers having unsupported technology in their classrooms. But we are certain that states are going to be able to address this in at least some way, shape, or form. And one example comes from the state of Utah. In response to educational technology going unused and wasted, the state of Utah implemented a policy that educated their teachers on how to use their software. And as a result, 100% of teacher software licenses were both opened and used in the state. We also know that the question of cost is a big one, but states have the scope and resources to be able to address this. In the state of Florida, the Florida Education Finance Plan is what is responsible for creating and funding education technology in Florida public schools. And this plan has been proven by Drs. Cui and Leong from the University of Florida to maintain an equitable distribution of funding to students in all of its 67 school districts. And on this graph, it represents the distribution of equitable funding from school districts in many states. And we can see that a significant number of them are able to fund a high level with great equity. And we would want most schools to reflect this segment of the graph as opposed to those with less and less equitable funding.
Solution 2 is to permit school districts to either establish general guidelines or craft specific plans for integrating technology in their schools. Some limitations to this solution are the lack of advanced regional applied technologies in remote areas, and also the possibility of teachers assuming numerous roles. However, districts are certainly capable of creating technological policies to support teachers. For example, in suburban Illinois, Gurney School District 56 committed to supporting teachers by providing technological professional development to educators. Teachers were given access to workshops, in-class coaching, and building-based tech facilitators during the school year, which taught them how to effectively integrate technology in the classroom. This shows how schools, districts can equip their teachers to effectively adapt to technology integration.
Granting school districts more responsibility also grants them the capability to address digital inequity on a district-wide level. For example, in rural Alabama, the Piedmont City School District installed a town wireless network using funds from a federal E-rate grant. Later on, they transitioned to providing students with portable Wi-Fi hotspots, allowing them access to technology outside of the classroom. Similarly, the Morris County District in suburban New Jersey was able to provide low-cost internet access to all households throughout the district by partnering with the nonprofit Everyone On. These are two examples of how, through internet provisions and partnerships, districts can combat inequality in access to technology.
So this is a brief comparison between our two solutions. We can see that states are able to address digital inequity and support teacher roles, but most importantly, they're able to fund programs. While district level policy often engages students, addresses equity, and supports changing teacher roles, the lack of funding is what ultimately is going to lead us to choose solution 1.
Okay. So the final solution will be to delegate the responsibilities to state level governments, because we believe that they have the ability and the resources to appropriately fund this stuff about education and technology, which shows and supports what we believe is the true and overall best solution.
And this is our work cited.
All right, I got a question for each of you. I'll start with you, Tristan, work your way across. Tristan, can you tell me how your group decided how to use Marco's perspective in your presentation?
Marco's perspective is on how technology and education is able to increase diversity for students. So we implemented some of his evidence in his arguments in the first slide I took about how technology can increase accessibility for students with diverse learning needs.
All right, thank you. Reflecting on your colleagues' work, which one had the greatest impact on you understanding the whole package of what you guys are talking about?
For me, I definitely think it was Tristan. Tristan's IRR talked about obstacles to technology integration, and while my IRR was specifically focused on policy, Tristan's really opened my eyes to seeing not just how it gets done, but what happens when we implement technology, and like what is blocking us from doing it in a proper way.
All right. Marco, what's a way, was there an example of a compelling argument from one of your peers'
So I would
reports
say-
you didn't use?
Well, so I would say that he had some, Tristan had some arguments that we didn't use about the policies and the perspective of the future, but we didn't use it.
Okay. And last one. Describe an argument from one of your peers' resolutions that makes you think differently about the solution you guys came up with.
For a solution that makes it would be Tristan's IR, which it shows like all the negative impacts of like technology it had, so that made us like see like more like about like technology and like all the impacts it has on like overall.